Well, Federal Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson joins us now with his thoughts on the escalating trade war between Canada and the U.S. Minister, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. What are your thoughts at this hour?
Well, this is obviously a very frustrating scenario for Canadians. Frustrating is probably understating it, where you have our longtime ally and biggest trading partner treating Canada essentially as an adversary, worse than they're treating China. So it is pretty upsetting. Certainly, we are very focused on trying to find pathways to avoid or have the tariffs removed. But we also obviously have to stand up for Canadians and ensure that we push back. And that's what we are doing. We will continue to negotiate with the Americans to try to find a pathway out of this. But, let's be clear, we are going to stand up for Canada.
And, when it comes to standing up for Canada and pushing back, shutting off power to Michigan, Minnesota, and New York, is that completely off the table?
I don't think anything's completely off the table. What we've done in the first level responses is really to target American products that are sold in Canada in significant quantities, for which Canadians have readily available alternatives as a means by which to increase the domestic pressure in the United States on President Trump to rethink his position. I think that is having some effect. We are seeing governors and Republican senators and mayors and business people calling for the removal of tariffs and speaking out and saying that, this is just something that is going to be a lose-lose proposition for both sides. But, as this moves along, we don't want to escalate it, but we certainly are not taking tools out of the toolbox before there's any kind of serious negotiation towards a resolution. And that would include putting export tariffs on energy and critical minerals and a range of other things.
Okay, along those lines, how reliant is the U.S. upon us?
Well, they are quite reliant on us, irrespective of what President Trump says about we don't need your oil, we don't need your gas, we don't need your critical minerals or your power. None of that is actually true. So American refineries use Canadian crude because it's A, more cost effective, and B, they're set up to use it, which is a heavy crude that the Americans don't produce. They need it. Many sections of the Pacific Northwest use Canadian gas. They're set up with their infrastructure in a way that they can't get American gas there. They need it. Electricity, those transmission lines go across the borders, and they need it. And to be honest with you, many of the critical minerals we supply them, they can only get from somebody like China if they don't get it from us. And it's pretty hard to argue that China is a more reliable partner for the United States than Canada.
So what's next in this sort of brinksmanship?
Well, look, we don't want to escalate. We would like to find a pathway out of this. I was in Houston yesterday meeting with Secretary of Energy, Chris Wright, talking to him about how we can actually dial down the level of rhetoric and actually move forward in a way that can be constructive for both sides and can allow us to continue to create mutual benefit, which we have for decades. But part of it is, the president needs to stop with the 54 first state references. That's just insulting. It's insulting to the prime minister. It's insulting to the governments across the country. But it's particularly insulting to Canadians who want to remain Canadians, however much we enjoy working with the United States and working with Americans.
Okay. Federal Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, thanks a lot.
Thank you.